A new Warner Brothers Pictures film releases this weekend and is written and directed by Bong Joon-ho, the same person behind Parasite, which won Best Picture in the 2020 Oscar ceremony. Mickey 17 stars Robert Pattinson, Steven Yeun, Michael Monroe, and features Mark Ruffalo, and sees Mickey 17, an expendable, go on a dangerous journey to colonize an ice planet. The cool fact about this film is a local Michiana resident worked in the visual effects department on this film as a compositor under Turncoat Pictures. She came to the station to talk with us about the film, her experience working on it, and the visual effects industry in general. First, she told us what she's allowed to share about the film, and of course, cautioned us about the R rating, basically telling us it's not exactly a family film.
It's coming out March 7th, and it is rated R, so just have a caution. It's not necessarily a family movie, but, just be aware that there could be some gore, blood, things like that.
Then she talked about her experience working on this film.
Yeah, it was a really cool film to work on. I definitely learned a lot. I mean, with every project that I work on, I'm always learning, but this one specifically, I felt like I was able to learn a lot. I met a lot of cool people, a lot of cool artists, talented artists that I got to work with on the film. And it's just a positive experience for me, for sure.
She told us how long she's been working in this industry, too.
Yeah, I've been a visual effects artist for the past 3 years, so I graduated from DePaul University and was able to get a degree in visual effects, and now I've been in the industry, so that's been great.
We discussed what the work hours and days are like, whether she's working on a movie, TV series, etc., from her own personal experience.
So I'm a freelance compositor, so with that I'm able to sort of pick my own hours, which is nice. I do work from home. So I'm working 8-hour days, 5 days a week. Sometimes there's overtime just depending on, scheduling or deadlines that need to be met. But for the most part, I'm just working an 8 to 5 kind of timeline and 5 days a week. So it's pretty nice, and it's very flexible since it is remote work. So.
We also asked her about the software that's generally used by visual effects artists and studios in general for projects.
Yeah, so I'm specifically a compositor within the visual effects industry. There's a lot of different kinds of artists in this industry. So I specifically use Nuke as a compositing software. Of course, different artists like, 3D artists might use something like Maya, or FX artists might use Houdini. There's so many different softwares out there that are used, but specifically for me, I use Nuke.
There's also been a recent popular opinion that more CGI is bad and less CGI is good, and we got her thoughts regarding that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of sort of negativity, not everywhere, but in some places where people say, we're proud to say that we didn't use any visual effects or any CGI. And while that is in an attempt maybe to give credit to things that were done practically, it can have a negative connotation that visual effects or CGI is bad. And that's a little hard for people who do the work, maybe not in that film specifically, but who do the work in the industry, to hear that having less of what they do is a good thing. And so I think, and a lot of the times it isn't necessarily true. There's very few films that are made like today that don't have visual effects or don't have even elements of CGI. And so things that are said like to the public, it kind of influences them that, oh, maybe we should want less of this. It's hard for people who do that work to hear that. And so I think instead of saying, trying to say, oh, we did all this practically, we did none of it, in post-production, instead of saying it in the way it's been said, more so saying it like, we've done a lot of things practically, we've done things that no one's done before practically, and we've used visual effects or CGI to enhance that, because that's most of the time that is the case, where visual effects is still being done. It's maybe not the main thing, like the biggest thing on screen, but it is enhancing what was filmed practically. So I think just remembering that, it's a collaboration between all these departments, and not putting down any one department to champion another, giving credit to everyone that was involved is just really important in the industry for sure.
We also talked about how she was personally affected and dealt with the before, during, and after phases of the Hollywood strikes.
Yeah, the writers and actors strike definitely took a toll on probably every aspect of filmmaking. For me, I had been working in the industry for about a year before the strikes hit, and so I felt like I was gaining a lot of momentum like in my career in the industry, and just the way that it kind of came to a stop for a couple months or several months, it doesn't hit the visual effects industry right away because we're more towards the end of the pipeline, but definitely like 4 to 8 months after the strike started, we were seeing a lot less work in the industry, a lot of people getting laid off, even some VFX companies closing. That definitely left a lot less work for everybody to go around. So it was definitely hard during the strikes and even after the strikes concluded because a lot of stuff wasn't being made. But since then, it's recovered for the most part. Projects are coming back, filming is resuming. It's been resuming. It's been some time since the strikes ended, so the industry is sort of recovered. So it's been kind of resuming back to how it was before, but of course it's not going to be the same as it was before because it really did take a big hit on the industry. So.
Then we talked about the common misunderstanding about the differences between visual effects, also known as VFX, special effects, also known as SFX, and CGI, which stands for computer-generated images, to which she explained what all three of those are and the difference between them.
Yeah, so those three terms are used oftentimes interchangeably. There's special effects, visual effects, and then CGI. And basically, what is best to understand is that special effects is any sort of effect that's done on set, like in front of the camera. So that can be like pyrotechnics, like explosions or fires. It can be like a smoke machine creating like atmosphere, or it can even be like animatronics, like in Jurassic Park, the originals where they had like actual animatronic dinosaur heads. That's all filmed on set, and so it's considered a special effect. Visual effects is anything that is done after the fact. So it's any imagery that's added to what was shot on set. And so basically, an example of a visual effect is if you're filming in front of a green screen or a blue screen, and you replace the blue screen with, a mountain range, that can be considered a visual effect. Where CGI comes into play is it's a type of visual effect, and it's not always, CGI is a visual effect, but visual effects are not always CGI. CGI stands for computer generated imagery, and so things like if you're creating explosions digitally, or creating like a planet, like background to put behind certain actors, like in a superhero movie or something, that's being done digitally, so it's considered CGI because it's being created digitally. Visual effects is, the process of doing things like that and bringing them together with what was filmed on set. And so that specific term is compositing, and that's what I do. I'm a compositor, so sometimes I'm taking things that were filmed on set, things that were created digitally, and I'm mixing them together to look like it was filmed that way. So yeah, that's kind of a quick chat about the differences between those three things. But obviously it can get a lot more complicated than that because visual effects and even special effects and even CGI are very broad terms, but they do get used interchangeably a lot, which is not always accurate.
And of course, she gave advice to the future artists based on what she's learned from her own personal experience so far.
Yeah, if you're interested in being a visual effects artist, it's definitely a little challenging to, kind of get into it. You got to get your foot in the door. You have to meet people. You have to refine your skills. There's, during the strike and during like COVID even, there wasn't a lot of job opportunities. So I would have to caution that it's not an untouchable industry. Things can happen and jobs can just go away or, just be hard to find. But if that is your passion, you just have to stick with it. It's not like all visual effects stops at any point. There's always some kind of advertising, some kind of TV show, some kind of movie being made, and just being able to seek out those opportunities and meet people is really important to be able to make it in the industry. But definitely having like knowledge about the industry that you're getting into, I think is really important.
And to round it off, we had to ask her how it feels to have her first major, big-budget studio movie by the same Oscar-winning writer and director of Parasite, Bong Joon-ho, released exclusively in theaters instead of going straight to streaming.
I mean, it feels surreal. I mean, this movie, just being able to work on Bong Joon-ho's like next thing since Parasite. I know a lot of people have been like anticipating what's he gonna do next after winning Oscars for that movie. Just being able to be even a small part of that movie, I think, I haven't seen it yet or anything, but just being able to work on it, I just feels really great. And it's kind of a testament to sort of how I've moved in my career, being able to work on such a variety of different projects. And it's been, I'm really excited to actually see it for sure.
And as Megan said before, a friendly reminder that Mickey 17 is rated R for violent content, language throughout, sexual content, and drug material. Spencer Beeler, WNDU.com.
For any future VFX artists, I'd also like to add that there's a lot of different paths you can take in this industry. I never thought that I'd be a freelancer. I always thought I was just gonna get a job like right out of college in Chicago and just work from a building there with a company there. But being a freelancer was something I didn't even think of, but it's something that I'm really glad I'm doing. But so just understanding the paths that you can take in this industry and kind of being open to different paths, even though it's not your first choice, it might actually end up being a really good fit. So yeah, and go see Mickey 17.